how I use ChatGPT without murdering content quality. We all know that AI is predominantly seeping into every aspect of our lives, and the number one use case right now is for generating content. And the number one proponent of that today, at least, is ChatGPT. I'm pretty sure that Bard and other tools like Content AI or Copy AI will also do very well. But the I always find asking myself the question that where does this end, and where where does AI uh, I'm sorry. How do the lines between being human and creating AI generated content blur, right? So from that dynamic, it is a given that it's difficult nowadays to like hold on to your own creativity, and it is also our most distinctive way of being ourselves, especially today, since there is a lot of flooding that is happening of AI content, whether anyone wants to admit it or not. But as a collective group, I feel that we can smell it. We, as soon as we read a piece of content, we know that this sounds like it's been generated. Um, However, there will come a time where, based on the kind of data sets that AI feeds on, the lines will get more and more blurred. It's an interesting time, but I feel very strongly that we shouldn't lose our individuality, keep our distinct voice. So that from that perspective, I would like to share how I use uh, ChatGPT for my own stuff as well as for my clients. For people who are new here, hi, my name is Amit Suvarna. I'm an organic marketing strategist and coach. For solo and small business owners who want to make a big impact without sacrificing too much on paid ads or time to do the actual work. In India, we call that dhanda, right? Business. So let me get into it. This is day 35 of my live challenge. I wish to keep this going for as long as I can, and let's see where that takes us. So, the number one way that I use ChatGPT is to refine content. So, that means that the primary drafts are written completely by me. I do all the research that needs to be done. The primary um, input, I would say, the human prompt is what the business wants uh, to communicate. There is no getting around that. So having conversations, discussions, uh, and understanding your target audience is paramount. It's at the forefront of everything that you do. And what you could do is create all your content, write it down the best you can, and you can refine this content. So the way I use it is I just put in a prompt in ChatGPT after putting the content, my article or script or something of that sort. Like, please review this content without changing the tone of voice or the formatting, right? I don't want it to change what uh, I'm saying over here or restructure it, because that's what AI does. It like uh, I reckon that it feels that it can do better, and I'm pretty sure it can. But I want to retain my voice and the flavor and what I bring to the table. So I just ask it to review the content. So I'm primarily using it as a proofreader, right? Um, this saves me a ton of time to maybe rephrase it, or basically on copy reviews, or the fine tuning to make it, you know that is required. It also helps me like and gives me a few ideas on how I can make it more conversational, so on and so forth. So that is number one in terms of refining content. What I don't do is I don't ask it to create stuff from scratch. That is AI's weakest link. To be to It'll generate content without um, enough context, and that shows. So I don't let AI write content from scratch. Initial drafts are done myself, and I save time on fine tuning, right? um, in if in case it so happens that you're worried that uh, your brand doesn't have a distinctive voice, then this is a very good exercise that write it on your own. If you feel that you don't have time, then maybe you need to invest in understanding what your brand voice is. What is your business's brand voice, right? Is it humorous, strictly professional, so on and so forth? Yeah. Going on to number two, how I use ChatGPT is for creating title, taglines, and headlines. So, uh, while I don't use it for like to do stuff from scratch, what I will ask it to do is I will put in the content that I have written, whether it is a script or an article or something that basically uh, a business owner wants me to write some copy for maybe a brochure or something of that sort, or web page. And I will ask it to provide a couple of titles from the content that is there. I will also ask it to place it in terms of priority, and suggest headlines and taglines that go along with the content that is there, right? And give me a couple of options. So in those couple of options also, I jimmy my way into finding the best thing that suits my use case, right? What I absolutely uh, don't do is uh, s- give it the headline and ask it to write the content. As I said before, you know that is AI's weakest use case, is to create content without context, right? And that will make it sound at its generic best, uh, which you don't want to do, especially if you are running uh, a respected business, right? Number three, keyword clustering. This is a SEO use case, and I'm sure that a lot of small business owners will not think a whole lot about it, but it helps to understand where you're operating, where you're competing. So this may be a very good use case for solo and small business owners to understand what the competition is in the market. How do you stand in that space, especially if it is a competitive space, right? So what while I don't use it for keyword research, that's not the use case of doing uh, a chat gpt is not a keyword research tool. uh, what I do is, once the article is written, I understand what the keywords surrounding this article can be, right? Because maybe I'm working backwards, but my SEO strategy starts with the business use cases and not from selecting keywords. So looking at the business use cases, looking at what are the top needs of the target audience of the business, what are top desires, what are the top challenges, what are the fears that keep them awake at night, what are the sales objections that keep them away from buying the product or service. All of these things are paramount, and then from there, basically, there is keyword research that is done. Many times it's after I write the piece of content. So um, so just asking it that, can you, from the article or the piece of content, um, suggest some keywords and cluster it, uh, and cluster it into a group so that you can suggest similar topics on those keywords, right? So that is something that like just keeps increasing the chain of content that you can think of. And we are not asking it to generate content of these topics. Let me reiterate over there. It's literally just saying that, uh, identify keywords and in the content that I wrote, and basically cluster them so that I can use them as ideas for topics later, right? So basically it's a long game. That is number three. And number four is to repurpose content. So once I have a long form piece of content, what I do is I ask it whether it can create a couple of, let's say, Facebook posts or LinkedIn posts from it, keeping the same tone of voice, keeping similar formatting, as well as targeting so and so audience to take so and so CTA action, right? Um, this helps reduce the time span for stuff that I'm doing, because I am more or less busy with doing a continuous string of activities for the small businesses and the clients that I have. So my primary goal is to shorten time, so shorten the length of time that I take for doing certain activities. So this really helps me fast track this. It's not that I take these pieces of content and directly post. I literally just use them to create distinct posts. I post, sorry, ideas for posts, and then work on them again, and then post them. Um, it is, I feel, again, is it's a very weak use case to generate short form content and then generate long form content from that, right? um, AI needs ample context. So this is an activity where you're given given AI ample context, and then from there you can repurpose your content for short form content. So this brings me to the end of today's live. And so I'll just give a quick recap on how I use ChatGPT. That is number one, to refine the content that I have already written. Number two is to identify titles and taglines in multiple sets so that I can refine them further. Number three is to use keyword clustering from the piece of content that I've already generated to give me ideas for topics that I can do down the line. And number four is to repurpose content into shorter pieces of content that I can use on social media and reduce the time in thinking uh, a lot. So, AI is a lifesaver. There is no doubt about it. Uh, I must end with saying that a whole lot of small businesses are getting it wrong. The question is not how can we create new processes to use AI, but to actually ask how can we enhance our current processes by leveraging AI. So make your processes better. Don't keep AI at the center of it. Your business is at the center of it, and you take it from there. With that, I thank you all for being here. Uh, I will see you next week. I will see you on Monday, and have a fantastic weekend.